everyone, welcome to the first ever code review. I wanted to introduce this as a way for some of these older videos to kind of update the code, if you will. So I know like sometimes, now I am getting repeats here. Hold on. Let me, there we go. Yep, there we go. Figured it out. It was Twitter. Alright, welcome, yes. So now, first ever code review. Again, doing this as more or less a way to update that code, because sometimes it changes over time. And as I was kind of skimming through this last time, I realized, yeah, it actually did change. So the YouTube video that was posted over a year and a half ago no longer works. The reason being is this URL actually got changed by Baseball Reference. So they added D3 and NAIA data too. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run through this old code and figure out a way to speed it up, and two, maybe make a few adjustments here and there, and show you how to pull it a little bit quicker. Now, this was, again, a lot can change in a year and a half. I definitely wasn't as good as I am now a year and a half ago, so now I know a little bit quicker ways to kind of do it, get the job done. So, excuse my list of untitles here. If you want to see the full list, here you go. Got 3 untitled 5s, 1 through 4, a 6, a couple 6s, a 7, 3, 12, 13, and 15, and we're going to be working on good old untitled 16 here. So here we are, rocking and rolling. So let's get going. What I'm going to do is copy and paste this data, or this code I should say, and basically go over what I would change from the past now into the future. So first thing is, make sure you install these packages, rvest for sure, and then now instead of dplyr, I'll say tidyverse. Tidyverse has way more functionality. If you haven't installed them, just remove this comment, run this line. I have them installed already, so I will not be needing to do that. And tidyverse. So that's one thing I already make a change of. So again, like all of my other YouTube videos, code will be posted to GitHub. This one is just, I'm going to show you live as I'm doing it. So, rvest, tidyverse, let's load them in, get them ready to go. Let's get rid of the environment real quick. Change these years to have 2021 as well as 2020. And now the difference was this URL here. So I'm actually going to remove this part, and the URL used to be group NCAA, but now they added again D3 NAIA data and Baseball Reference. So now the group is college. And I'll go on the site just to verify. Yes. So basically, we're creating a list called URLs, and then we're appending that URL from 2013 in the present into that list. Now what we can do is unlist it. So I'll say URLs piping operator. Good old piping operator, let me tell you. Very useful to insinuate continuation of code. Wouldn't be where I am today without the old piping operator. So what we're doing here is now we're going to unlist it, and basically what that means is just removing it as a list because it's currently a list, converting it to a data frame, and then adding a few more things. So the first thing is we're going to add a year column. And how you add a new column is through dplyer's mutate. So for every call I'll make, I'll use the package name so that helps you understand. So dplyr is a part of Tidyverse. It's under that umbrella of Tidyverse. Tidyverse is the package I use daily for anything. Scripts for here at QU Baseball, any other analysis like fantasy football drafts. It's that time of year. I've had a few over the past week. Use Tidyverse to create scripts there for projections and whatnot. But along those lines, very, very useful. So now we're going to say years since that is the list that we called. And then whenever you coerce something to a data frame from a list, the first column name will always be a period. So we're going to rename it, and we're just going to say URL equals, and then in quotes that period. So we can run this line, and boom. Now we'll have the baseball reference data ready to go. So now what I used to do is using for loops, which take forever and a half. And I'm thankful that I try to avoid for loops as much as I can. In this case, pasting a URL doesn't take very long, so that's fine. But if you're trying to scrape data, it might take forever and a half. Anyways, so what I'm going to do is actually remove this code completely. And what I'm going to do now is actually create a helper function. And I'm just going to call it scrape bref college data for right now. And I'll say function, and my two arguments is URL and year. So leave that in the brackets. And so basically I'm going to create a data frame. And so that URL piping operator XML2. Now this is under RVest. So if you haven't installed RVest through that install package, it will also download XML2, which is a part of RVest, which allows you to basically read code in this case. So read HTML, RVest HTML nodes, and we'll say table, and then RVest HTML table, of course, add the trim equals true. So it'll coerce it to a table, and then at the end we want that function to call something. So in this case we're calling that data frame we just created. So I'll run this. I'll add more stuff to it in a bit. I just want to show you a basic example and show myself a basic example. So scrape college data, URL, in this case I'll just say URL is URL 9, which is the 2021 and 2021. So run it, and there you go. Isn't it beautiful? Oh, it makes me so happy having all this data. So they have rank, which is just alphabetical order, league, level, teams in that particular conference, batting age, runs per game, plate appearances, at-bats, runs, hits, so on and so forth, all the other columns. So let's continue to add on within that function, so that way when we scrape all of them for all years, we'll even get the year data in there. So if you look up here closely, you can see this 1. And basically what that 1 means is sometimes when you scrape tables, in this case, we're scraping the nodes of a table. And basically if there's multiple tables on the page, then it might show up multiple tables and you're trying to scrape, table XYZ. If you're a little bit familiar with my Fangraphs table, scraping Fangraphs player pages, you would have an idea of how that would work. Oh my goodness, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Screw. A little screw came out of my chair. Better fix that. I will make sure I fix that. It's just, wow. It's just been an interesting day. My laptop, the one that I'm on right now, won't close, but here we are. Working on some R coding of course, for the best viewers ever. And yeah, feel free to let me know in the chat how things are going. If you don't understand something, please do not hesitate to be like, hey, listen, Robert, seems like you got this down pat, but I don't get it. I need some help. I'll be like, I got you, big dog. Anyways, so how we're going to coerce it now is we'll say take the first argument. So obviously there was one table, so you do period because that indicates, hey, insinuate this code, that this table that we just created, get the first table, and we'll say dplyr mutate, in this case year equals year, so that way we can get that table. So rerun that function, run it again, and you can see all the way at the end we have year. So you're probably asking yourself, but Robert, how do we get all 9 years from 2013 to 2021? How do we do it in a quick and simple way without doing a for loop? Well, thank goodness we're here. So I'm going to create I'll just call it teams for now. Teams. And we'll say 1 to n row URLs. Add that piping operator, and we'll say per. So again, per is under the tidyverse, and per has a lot of great functionality. The one that I use the most is map. And basically what map does is maps a function, whatever function you want to use, and runs it iteratively and much more efficiently than a for loop, because mapping does more vectorization where for loop goes back and forth. So it's saying, all right, we got to do this, then we got to do the next one. But vectorization is so much more quicker in R, so I would highly recommend to vectorize as much as you can. And let me show you one example here. So per map, and then the initial argument is, or I guess in this case per map df, because we're basically mapping a data frame, and we're calling a function, and we're going to say function x, and where x comes in is when we do call that scrape the ref college data within those arguments. So we'll say URLs $URL x, and same for years. So URLs $year x. And so what this basically function does, goes through each year, 2013, 21, grabs that table, adds that year in the last column, and then appends it all to have a giant data frame. So we're going to run that, give it a second or two, but hey, if you're having a good time, you're having a good time. You know what I'm saying? So here we are, just running some code. Let's get all that college conference data. How about that? And so it looks like we're done. So I don't know if you remember that first video, but when I did that first video, it took about 5-10 minutes to do all of it. That was maybe a minute. So now if you want to look at the teams, just go ahead, teams, look at that. Or even then you can click over into here, and you have all of this data. And you have NAIA data from 2017 to 2021. How about that? Big NAIA guy over here, let me tell you that. I do enjoy me some NAIA baseball. Can't wait for it again, but hey, my heart's still tried and true to some D2 baseball. That's why I'm here. Go Hawks, as they would say. Quincy Hawks, to be specific. You can see by my shirt, QU, Bad Boy for Life. That was our slogan last year. Can't wait for another great year with the Hawks. Oh man, I'm so fired up about it. But back to coding. So now that we have all that data, you're probably thinking, well, you know, what do we do with it? What about other data? Let's say one of you goes on that exact URL and goes year. Well, what about pitching data? And I'll be like, well, it's not that easy, but it's doable. So what I'm actually going to do is go through some old code. So let's go right here. And this code will basically pull that because Baseball Reference works a little bit differently. Tables are built in containers, so you basically have to pull out the first table, remove that so you can get to the next table. So in this case, we'll say let's add it to this function. So I'll just add a call saying table num. And we'll say, like, what if I want pitching data? Well, here's how we know it. We'll say if table num equals 1, then run that code. And then we'll add a little else there, so an if-else statement. We'll do pretty much the same thing, but I'll go back to my previous thing, add that in there too. So we'll do a little bit of that. I'll add these package names, so RVS. So basically that little XPath, the comment, is basically how the website of Baseball Reference is built on. You don't need to go into great detail as to how or why it is the way it is, but we can optimize the way we do things here. So RVS, HTML nodes, XPath comment, HTML text, then we're going to do a paste and we're going to collapse those quotation marks so we can get to the next table. And then again with the read HTML, XML2. In this case we're going to scrape a single node, but instead of league batting it's league pitching. And then RVest HTML table trim equals true. Again adding that 1, and then dplyr mutate year equals year, and then return that data frame. So we're adding a little if else, and so let's test it out. So scrape bref college data, we'll say URLs $URL, the 9th one, since that's 2021 the year, and in this case we'll say 2 since it's not the first. And look at that. So error in XML2 unused argument read HTML. So in this case, let's add the quotation marks and go from there. So again, scrape bref college data. Looks like no applicable method for mutate applied to an object of class integer and numeric. Hey, this is what we're here for. So let's focus on just getting the table first and seeing where that takes us. So running it so we can see that part works. And again, I guess in this case we're not scraping any of the first tables, so we can just go right into dplyr mutate, I believe, and say year equals year. Because we know that we can scrape the data, so yeah, that's what it was. So in that case, since we pulled out the comment, or the league batting table in this case, and got the league pitching table, there was no double one, or in this case the first table that you have to pull. But anyways, that's what we're looking at, and wow, I'm gonna work so hard here. But anyways, so now that we're doing that, basically we're again gonna do the same thing, but in this case we'll say conference pitching, since we're going to be specific with it. And again, I'm going to copy and paste this same thing, except I cannot spell pitching, I guess. Wow, that's terrible. And then in this case 2. So since we're going to do that, let's make sure that we fix that previous function as well. So we're going to run that. I don't know how long it's going to take. Could take. Look at that. Took like 10 seconds. Think about that. Why run a for loop when you have per map data frame? Took like 10 seconds. I leaned back and I'm like, oh yeah, it's going to take a couple seconds here. You know, I'll get a little sip of water. Nope, here we are with the old conference pitching. Less than 10 seconds. And so you have all these columns. Get rid of what you want. It doesn't matter. Let me show you how to do that real quick. So let's say we don't want games finished because it looks like it's all NAs, complete games, NAs, and then strikeouts per win. So in that case, we'll go conference pitching. Call that data frame again, because basically what we're doing here is we're going to say we want a new object called conference pitching. We're going to call the data frame conference pitching, piping operator, dplyr select, and then this is where negatives come in. So negative, which means we don't want it, negative games finished, negative complete games, or negative. And then since there's a slash in strikeouts per win, you can either put it in quotes like this, strikeouts per win, or the little tilde sign in the top left corner if you have a Windows. Not sure where it is on the Mac. Tilde sign and then strikeouts / win. So let's remove those. And look at that, we have 32 variables. And we have all that conference data. So how that basically changed from last time was the code ran significantly faster than this. Ran much more efficiently than that. We created a custom function that allowed us to acquire said data. Now, the one thing that was on the previous video that's not on this one is the kind of combining by divisions. Now, there is some ways of doing it. You could theoretically do it through Baseball R, though how the code IDs work, or I should say the conference IDs are a little bit different on Baseball Reference than they are, say, Baseball R using the Master NCAA table lookup. But you can theoretically go through that previous CSV file that I've had, go through, get the Division 1, Division 2 teams. NAI would already be there since they're listed as NAIA. But at the very least, you can have those Division 1, Division 2 teams if you would like. And simply how you would do that is you would say divisions, read.csv, or just grab it from the GitHub file. So let me show you how to do that real quick. Go on the old GitHub page, go on YouTube, and then go on scraping Baseball Reference data with R, divisions, say raw, copy and paste that link. And actually, we're going to use the readr package. So readr, read underscore CSV. And then this is where the link comes in. So there you go. You got divisions. And so that's from 2013 to 2019. You could add the future columns there. But then, if you wanted to combine the two together, let's say, we'll call it conference pitching. And then we'll do a left join with the dplyr package. So basically keep everything on the left side. In this case, conference pitching, which is the leftmost object you called. And then on the right side, it's divisions. And this is where it'll say by, and in quotes, league. Since those are the two that match in both. But actually, you would actually need to do by year as well. So instead of just saying by league, you would say by league, comma, year. Just in case if any of those conferences decided to drop a division. Usually, you usually see individual teams switch divisions, but not entire conferences. But it's better to be on the safe side, so I'll run that. And it looks like it's not found because I can't spell divisions. Divisions. That's unbelievable. So now I called it the right name, divisions. Man, that's bad. That's bad. But hey, we're having a fun time out here, so get a lot of NAs. It appears. So again, it could be from how it's set up again. So like, see, in years past, it would say American East Conference, but now it's just saying America East, Atlantic 10, Atlantic Coast, Atlantic Sun. What you would basically do is take that CSV file and change it. And I'd be happy to show you on a different video if you want it. So, hey, let's get this to 25 likes. If we get 25 likes, I will be more than happy to show you how to do that. So, now that we have all that data, well, what if I want to save it? And you know, what if I want to access it again? I don't want to keep this in my environment all the time. Well, good for you. You look happy and healthy. Man, that's a great song. But good for you. You have a nice little readr write CSV. So readr write underscore CSV. And then in this case, we'll say teams. And then in quotes, we'll say bref conference hitting.csv. So run that. And I'll just copy and paste this again for pitching. So conference pitching, and then bref conference pitching. So run that. And now we're going to do, well, how do I get it back? Well, that's pretty simple. So we'll call it test for right now, and we'll say readr, read underscore CSV, and we'll say bref conference hitting.csv. So we'll run that, and look at that. That's the exact same thing. So you can get all that data and be so happy with it, and analyze it, look at it. Feel free to look around to it, but I figured we're going to do a bit of a code review. That way, some of the videos that I've made in the past can get updated and all revved up and ready to go. So that way, people don't get frustrated and be like, man, I can't figure this out. Man, this is tough. So, I will be able to post this to YouTube. Obviously, I'm live streaming it right now. Figured I'd help out the masses this way, but thank you so much for anybody that tuned in and wanted to learn a thing or two about scraping baseball reference data. This code will be posted on GitHub shortly after this video, and feel free to watch in and join it again and watch this as much as you want. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out on my comments in YouTube. Follow me at RobertFry40. Obviously, it's in the bottom right corner of your screen right now if you are watching. And I hope that you have a great rest of your Labor Day.